Hey, I'm Luis.
And I'm Luis.
And you're listening to the Content is Profit podcast.
And we spent the last 4 years learning the strategies and techniques from some of the top marketers in the world on how to create content that turns into profit.
If you'd like to learn how to turn that content into profit, just go to contentisprofit.com. There's a surprise in there for you. I promise it's going to help you a ton.
Oh yeah. And today we have an incredible guest. He's amazing. He's one of our online besties.
I know.
We're going to be talking about how to use SEO to grow your podcast and business. And honestly, we're going to speak about so many more stuff. We were talking behind the scenes.
He has a pretty unique take on content that we're ready to kind of dive deep and he just told us that he doubles.
He's about to double.
He's about to double
from last year. His business,
baby, so good, so good.
I think we just mixed up the words in that sentence all over the place. We're he's about to double from last year. His business.
Where's your English, FONZI?
It's so good.
FONZI, do we have a sponsor today?
Indeed, we do. Thank you for asking.
You're welcome, my dear friend.
Today's sponsor is your own, the BIZBROS with Content Momentum.
That's
and you might be asking yourself, what is Content Momentum? Well, if you produce a long-form piece of content just like this one you are watching or listening to, and you need a modern media team to come into your business and help you maximize your effort and leverage the content that you are already putting out, right? Turn it into value-packed, bite-sized assets, into little minions that go into the interwebs, into social media, and get you some new clients. Help you build authority, trust. Man, we are here for you. So slide in the DMs at BIZBROSCO on Facebook and Instagram.
Awesome, guys. And go ahead and follow the podcast because this is episode 160 and there's a ton of other incredible, valuable conversations that you can take action today and have massive momentum in your business. So go ahead and follow so you don't miss any of those episodes. Follow us on social media at BIZBROSCO where you can see all those bite-sized, value-packed assets that we call golden boulders. So good.
That is right.
So
and if
good.
you find today's episode valuable, which I am sure you will because today's guest is amazing. If he helps you take one step closer to your goal, please don't forget to share this episode because it might do the same for somebody else. And don't forget to leave a 5-star review. Thank you.
Do you know what makes us happy? Bringing our friends back for round 2 of Content is Profit. That's exactly what's happening today. Our incredible bearded friend is making a comeback.
That is right, amigo. Not only that, but today's guest is the only guest we've had that talked about SEO. Yeah, baby. Ooh. So if you are tired of paying for ads and want a long-term solution to your traffic issues, this is the episode for you. This is the guest you need to pay attention, and this is the guest that you need to reach out and connect with after you listen to this entire episode, of course.
Ooh, oh yeah, he's actually outranked ABC Network, $1 billion brand. He has worked with Inc. 5000 and Shark Tank featured clients, and he wrote what could be easily, the holy grail of SEO, the book Outranked. Does his power come from his beard? We shall see.
Epic beard indeed, my friends. Please welcome author of Outranked, SEO wizard, and the king of sarcasm, Damon Burton.
Thank you, guys. Can I tell you, I'm just here selfishly for your energy. I don't even care what we talk about.
Let's do it, baby.
Yes,
we neither. We're like, let's just have an awesome conversation about whatever comes to the table.
Hey, I gotta share something with you. So I know you guys know Josh 40 because that's how we met. Does the audience know Josh 40?
Yes,
pretty sure they do,
pretty familiar. We've shared his story. We've worked with him. He's actually coming to the show again, part 2 next week. So yeah.
Well, this beautiful art piece is courtesy of Josh 40.
Yes.
Oh my gosh! For those listening,
if you're listening on audio, it's just a blanket of repeating like 4 variations of my face. And my kids. What's funny is, my family's just owned it. My kids love it. They call it the dad blanket. When we go on road trips, my wife steals it, and she's like snuggled up in the front seat, and my beard is like taking on a life of its own.
Dude, that's it. You will never be able to shave your beard now.
Yeah.
I can't. I really can't. I don't know what I got myself into.
Yeah,
it's your identity. It's the brand.
Yeah, they put the beer in a pedestal, man. Now you cannot take it down.
I can't. And in real life, it's so crappy. It's just so patchy. It's all fake. It's not real.
Just like Fonzie. Fonzie just like plugs it up.
Fonzie's so majestic.
I grab a Sharpie and I fill it up in the gaps in here. You cannot tell because of the camera.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
hey, thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk. We got a lot of fun things we can talk about that can help the audience. Obviously,
for
SEO.
sure.
We can talk about social proof and whatever else comes up.
Absolutely, Damon. Before we start, I'm sure the audience is itching to have an answer to this question. It's a follow up from last episode. Have you learned how to play the guitar?
No, that guitar has not moved. It is still in the same place from last time.
It is the same place, yeah.
So if you didn't catch the first episode, COVID hit around that time. And so I thought, well, maybe business is going to take a little time out for a minute, and I'll find that extra hour in the day. And I really wanted to pick up guitar. So I ordered a guitar on Amazon, and I'm so glad I got it because like a week later, everybody else had the same idea and they were all sold out for eternity. And then I get the guitar. I'm so excited. I set it down, waiting for my downturn in COVID, and the opposite happened, and business has doubled, and the guitar has sat there and gathered dust ever since. But then it's become such a great conversational piece that it's almost like I should leave it there intentionally.
Absolutely. I'm about to bring actually the guitars that I have in my room and put them in the background for that same purpose. I do not play either,
He has two, man. Like he went all crazy, and he's like, dude, should I buy a second one? I'm like, why? Well, it's better, for the performance.
Don't even play the first one.
But like, why?
I get people that I'll go on shows and people will talk about marketing and how you understand your audience. And then I'll get these people that, they'll ask and they'll say, do you play guitar? And I'll tell them the story. But then I get these other people that they just fully commit to it. They're like, listeners, here's how you understand your audience. You walk into an office, like, let's pretend I'm looking at Damon's office right now. I walk in, I see the guitar. I know he plays guitar. And I'm just like, yeah.
If only you knew. If only you knew. It's like Fonzie and his books. He buys literally 3 books a week, and they just sit there.
They don't sit there. I read them. I'm a slow reader. So I acquire books at a faster pace that I can read them. So they're like stacking up, But when I'm done with the book that I'm reading, I'm like, well, I got options now, Which one am I going to pick?
Yeah. Speaking of books, Damon, dude, you have one book that just released also in the audio version. Thank God, because I am also a very slow reader, and that was the only way that I was able to consume it, right? And I remember very vividly one of the first stories in your book about outranking ABC, and it's like literally a fun project, and then how you started with your car website hobby. Mm-hmm. And I think it's incredible how you simplified SEO for people, because to me, I was really honestly very intimidated, right? I jump on a call with you right after, I'm like, oh man, everybody needs this, right? So do you want to share a little bit of that book? So if people are interested, we're actually going to leave the link right below, and they can go get either the audio version or the physical version. So
or both.
Yeah. So
I don't know, I've heard that if you listen to the audiobook as you read, you get higher retention, so just get both.
I tried that. It doesn't work to me. It doesn't work. But yeah,
whatever works.
The choice is yours. Is right in the link, so you can go ahead and do that, both of them, if you want.
I wrote it took about 2 years to write the book, because I didn't want to write some half-ass SEO book that was just a technical guide. I wanted to offer a technical guide, but one of the first lines in the book, it says, let's be honest, a book about SEO doesn't sound like the sexiest topic. And so I had to take that into consideration and go, okay, how do I start with fun, entertaining stories like the ABC story, like the car website story, but still underscore the importance and the impact and the potential of SEO? So it's a legit book. It's 135 pages. And I start the first few chapters just on sharing some stories, like how I outranked ABC's The Bachelor from when I was just newly married, no kids, in my crappy makeshift office with my old inherited computer. And then how I went into what ultimately started my career is I had a car enthusiast website. I used to be really into cars, and so I started an online community website. And then the short story of that is I started to get a big following. So then I said, how do I make this better for the following? And then I started to learn web design. And then as it continued to increase, I said, how do I monetize this? And so then I got into marketing. And from there, I was the guy that did crappy websites on the side, like we all have a friend that does, for several years. And then I continued to improve on my skill set until I was able to build up a side hustle. And then a couple years into it, I said, the side hustle is making 50% of my income, but the day job's taking up 80% of my time. So I said, this sounds like as calculated a risk as I can take, where it's going to suck to quit the day job and lose 50% of my income. But if I can pay my bills, this is probably as safe as a bet as I'm going to get. So that's when I go through kind of like some of those stories. And then now here we are. I've owned SEO National for 14 years now. We do 7 figures a year. And I just hired 10 people last month in just 1 month. So now I got 30 employees. Yeah. So I walk through that whole journey in the book of how to grow a business, not just from a marketing standpoint, not just from my business, but how can you apply this to your business, whether it's service based, whether it's retail based, whatever it is, how you can scale SEO, just like Lewis said, without overcomplicating it. Like, it's really not that there's some technical parts to it, but the core of SEO is really who can do a lot of really basic things, who can juggle them the best, the longest. It's not a ton of rocket science. It's just being consistent with the basics.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. And I love it. And I think this is something that people need to talk more about. I remember having a conversation or our interaction on social, because you are pretty active on social as well. And it was, it's funny how the cycles go, right? SEO, it was the sexy thing a while back, and then we go back and there's like all this flashy stuff in front of it, but it's coming back, right? And it's like, well, okay, well, we always land on SEO at the end of the day, right? And for us, I wanna be fully transparent here. Like, for us, there's no site or no blog. That's why we called Damon and consulted with him. We're like, what is the next step, right? Because for us, the minimal viable product or content that we could put out there was the show, and then on social. And now we're getting into a point where it's like, okay, what's next? And the question I put here, the question that changed everything, like you said, like, how do I make this better for the following? And that's exactly the same thing that we're asking ourselves. It's like, how do I actually make this better for the following and get this message out even more, right? On a consistent basis over time that can sustain time. That's the important thing, right? So I think it resonates so much, and I encourage people, right? Go check out the book, right? If you are not familiar with SEO, I think this is a great way to start. If you are familiar with SEO, I think it's a great way to continue and definitely apply those principles, right? Because it's incredible. It's literally a blueprint. So thank you, Damon, for putting that out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Oh yeah, sorry, Damon, go ahead.
You brought up a good point about SEO coming full circle, because I've been talking about that a lot lately the last couple months. Is obviously where I'm 14 years into it, I never went away, and SEO never went away. But the masses, you're right. It seemed like the masses saw those shiny objects. Like, here comes ClickFunnels, here comes Facebook ads, here comes Google AdWords. There's nothing wrong with those things. But what's interesting to me is that people are more willing to invest in a platform that they don't own. You don't own Facebook. You don't own that audience. You never will. But with a website, you own that asset. All the time and money you're putting into it will, as you said, sustain. It will scale. It will continue to grow, and it will continue to bring a bigger return on your investment. So a lot of times, paid ads make sense, right? The sexy thing about paid ads is that they're a lot quicker than SEO. But what I think a lot of people overlook is sometimes the arguments I hear from other marketers is, well, SEO is slow. Okay, they're not wrong, but their argument is that I can have a paid ad account up and running within a day or two, which is true. But what I think a lot of people don't talk about is your paid ad is up in a day or two, but it's not profitable in a day or two. You are burning money just as long as you're burning money on SEO. Like, at the very minimum, it's weeks, if not months, to break even, let alone make a profit. And so it's like the same turnaround time, give or take, but you own the asset with SEO. And then the other argument is, well, SEO seems like a moving target and all these different things. I can understand that argument, but like we were saying, if you stick to the basics, it's not that complicated. But then when you compare that to ads, how many days do you guys see on, how many times a day on social media do you see a friend's ad account gets shut down and they're trying to figure out how to turn it back on? Or does anybody have another one they can tap into? Like, I don't have to deal with any of that mess with SEO because it's just the asset that we own, or the clients own, just the website, and it's completely in our control.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love it, man. Like, again, and to us, or to me at least, it was it is the next logical step. We were at an event last Friday, and we're like, man, like there's so much information that we share with people, not only on the show and what we mentioned earlier on the golden boulders, but it's like, how can we make it better? Like what you said, right? Like I
have an emotional tie to golden boulders because Johansson is what I came in and I introduced you to. So I love every time I hear that.
Oh man, I love it. I love that came out with Joseph. He's awesome too. Dude.
Anyways, so you were at an event?
Yeah. Well, my brother just walked out because I guess he's opening up the window because we were a little bit dark in here. So I don't know what he was about to say. He said you were in an event.
What event?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know, most of the audience know that we partner with PodMax, and every 60 days or so we go to a live event there with Josh and Eric, right? Eric Cabral. And,
I got to tell you the story about Josh after you finish yours.
Yes.
Right,
we talked
exclusive.
We talked about this. Yes, exclusive for the show. It's a good story. So, anyways, and we had some people in there, and massive light bulb moment of like how else can we multi-purpose the content? And that's a conversation that we've been having with a lot of the people that we help to, the people that have been in our 45 Live. It's changing the mindset of, how do I repurpose something that I already did that it might not be working, and like blah, 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 right? I'm like, I hate the word repurposing, by the way, like cancel it.
Cancel culture against
repurposing. But it's like, how do we...
Get on that audience. That word down.
I know. But how can we actually create, right? How can we become those strategic creators, and from the very beginning, have that output in mind, whether that's social, whether that's SEO assets, whether that's like email marketing. What are we attaching our content from the very beginning, right? And that has come obviously with time and execution after 160 episodes. And it goes back to that. It's like, how can I add more value to my audience, right? What is that avenue that I need to be loud and provide value to, because I know that we can help them, right? And some of those assets where on a site where we present resources and we present like the notes, and we can, like, if they want to listen, here's the other option, right? And right now there's different channels, and it's worked really well, but now we've found ourselves in this position where it's like, what's next? And it's super exciting to go that route and be like, super awesome. By the way, we've invested $0 in ads as well. And, and there's ways that we can do that sustainable, consistently. And this is why this conversation is so exciting to me.
I wrote down here, being consistent is the ultimate advantage, man. And, like whether you go with like ads or SEO, you got to stay consistent with it. The issue that I'm seeing with people is that ads is the shiny thing, is like the quick win that everybody wants to have. They go without the understanding of all the money it requires to test and come up with like a winning campaign, right? And then they're like burn out. They hate the medium, and they're like, oh, I don't want to try it anymore. And then they quit, right? Yeah. When in turn, if they had the mindset of long-term sustainable success, right, I feel people would go, and maybe I'm wrong with this, like they would go more with SEO, right? Maybe there is more people going with SEO, and I have no idea.
It's kind of back to Lewis's comment about it coming full circle. So we've grown year after year for those 14 years, and so it's not that SEOs ever went away. It's just that there's the shiny objects that get in front of it. Yeah. But where we're talking about it coming full circle, and we're talking about the pros and cons of paid ads versus SEO, like it's going to vary based on your product or your service. I'm not here to say one is better than the other. I think there's different opportunities based on your circumstance or a combination of them. But what I'm seeing is like the overall perception and stereotypes are starting to shift a little bit back towards SEO because of those things we talked about, because of ad accounts getting shut down, because of always having to fight for a budget, because of always having to turn off and on ads because of ad fatigue. And so I'm starting to see a lot of people come back to SEO for different reasons than they used to. They still come to SEO because they want to increase organic sales, but now I'm starting to have part of the conversation of, I'm just sick of Facebook ads. And there's some people that you and I won't say who, but there's some big social media influencers that you and I know that we've had conversations off the record where it's just like, Damon, if you would have told me about SEO a year ago, I would have thought it was the dumbest thing. But now it's like the sexiest sounding thing, and I want in. So even these gurus are going, man, this is exhausting dealing with these things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whew. I want to jump in that bandwagon, man. We definitely need to get our stuff together and do the SEO. We've talked about it. I mean, my brother told me about the conversation you guys had about the, using the podcast episodes for SEO reasons, like building the site and stuff like that.
It's gonna be so good.
I'm curious. I want to leave that topic a little bit towards the end, because of course we use it as the hook, so we need to leave the open loop for the end of the episode.
Well, duh.
Of course, basic marketing 101. Exactly. But I'm curious, like, besides that long term kind of like play that requires to go into SEO, what is the thing that is holding people from actually doing it, from giving it a shot?
I think it's just proper education. There's just like all forms of digital marketing, there's some bad guys in the industry, and SEO is one of the older types of online marketing, and so there's some stereotypes, and so there's still a lot of misconceptions, depending on who your audience is or who you followed, or what wrong SEO you chose in the past. And so there's been some damage done. And I think that's really why I've excelled, is because I'm just very transparent about those things. Yes, you got burned, and here's why. Yes, this is why you invested a bunch of money and you don't have anything to show for it. These are the things to look out for. Like we talk about how we're going to touch on social proof. And so a lot of those things that I go out and do on social proof is exactly that. Like, I don't hide from any of the scars that the SEO industry has. And I just come out and I go, here's a problem, here's a solution, here's a question, here's the answer. Yeah. And so I just come at it because I don't want the clients that are nervous. I don't want the clients that are insecure and scared. So if I can help heal them or proactively advise on how to do SEO the right way, then the more that I can help them, the more that they can help us make a profitable campaign for them. So I just address everything head on.
I love what you said about you don't want the clients that are scared and nervous, so you just go out there and try to like heal them, right? I'm doing air quotes in here, through putting them at ease, educating them, say, hey, this is the right way to do it. And don't get me wrong, I have this feeling, correct me if I'm wrong, I have this feeling you do it not with the sense of like, oh, I'm just gonna give you this information so then you can turn into my client, but it's like, this is the right thing to do. I want to share it because you love the SEO space and you don't want it to have a bad rep. And then people are seeking you after that because guess what? You are the guy that helped them move forward, move past those fears, all those issues that they were having, right? And I think that is something, regardless of the industry that you're at, especially in today's world where the customers, have so much power before making a decision. I think that is the way to do it, is actually actual empathy, right? It's like caring for the other person and not do it with just like an intention behind the back. It's like, hey, look, freely, this is what I can do for you. This is how I can help you. Just take it. And then you're just going to build that trust.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't care so much about what other SEOs talk about because there's always going to be some bad guys. And I think that's helped me by just staying in my lane and not really caring what other people talk about in the SEO space. But you are right in the fact that it's just the right thing to do. So I may not be out necessarily to protect the industry, but I am out to protect the consumers and give them a fighting chance. Because if you're going to invest this much money for this long of a time frame, you ought to be willing to be able to make have an educated discussion on what is the right strategy for you, who is the right type of person, what type of questions to ask. And so, when I get on social media and I just say, here's all the answers. I never send them to a funnel. I don't even have a funnel. I don't have an email list. I don't have anything. But I have a website, but I don't even send them there either, because I don't want to convert somebody in the social media post. I want to showcase my expertise and establish the relationship. And so I just give away everything, because there's from my perspective, there's three types of content consumers. So one is going to be the type of person that takes your information and runs. Fantastic. You just help somebody. I don't care that they didn't become a client because they were never my client anyway. The second type of content consumer is somebody that's going to internalize your information, build a relationship with you subconsciously, and then they will either become a client later or they will refer somebody because now they trust you. The third type of content consumer is the person that becomes a client.
Yep.
So like, which one of those is bad? So there's no reason not to just give away all the answers.
True. I love it. I love the 3 types of clients. I'm actually just taking down notes in here and just writing it down. We love making like a carousel after all these conversations that we have, and I think the carousel that we're gonna make about this conversation might be about this one.
Be good,
I mean, there's so many things that we could obviously create content out of these conversations. But I love that take on. I'm just helping. Is that perspective, man? And we talk about perspective so many times. You change your perspective, and even the runner, right? You're like, it's okay. I help you, right? Like the other day, for example, my brother was on a sales call, and we're pretty open with our process. Like we show people our process as we're having these conversations with them, so they can see the work that it takes on the back end to do what they're doing, right? Mm-hmm. And this, obviously not saying any names, right? But the guy was watching, and after the call, my brother turns and he's like, dude, this guy was just like taking screenshot after screenshot after screenshot. Like I could hear it in the conversation. Like, it's like no shade whatsoever. So it's like, awesome, man. Like, that's cool. You know, like if we helped him to put his own process together,
here's
absolutely amazing.
Here's the aftermath of that, right? Like to me, it was obviously a shock. Like I think it was the first time that happened to me. I was like, well, that's. I mean, dude, if you tell me that, I can send you the recording. Like this is like have it. Like it's fine. I know that we
don't make it weird.
Exactly. So, but here's what happened, right? Like that ended up like I didn't mention it. Nothing happened, right? And he's been like watching, he's been there, right? And then he sent a message. He's like, hey, Luis, I just want to share this with you. I closed my highest ticket client ever because of the things that we talked about during that sales call. And I was like, man, that is so cool. And that's thank you for sharing that with us. Social proof of the system, right? That works, and that he was able to help and serve some other people. Guess what? We're launching a podcast in May 1st. So if you're listening, guys, send us a DM.
A workshop. A workshop. You said a podcast. We're launching a workshop.
A workshop, exactly. Yes. Sorry. Workshop. May 1st. Content Momentum Workshop. Guys, go to send us a DM, please. But anyway, so that when we had this conversation, I'm like, hey, by the way, we have this coming up. Do you want to be a part of it? And he's like, dude, I'm in. So same thing, right? Like is what we're talking about, right? And now he's very excited. We're very excited to have him on, and you know, the limited spots that we have. So again, it's a good situation, right? It's like let's share away, right? And I personally had a very big struggle with that at the very beginning, and it's something that I had to work internally with myself, right? I had to look inside. I'm like, why am I feeling this way? Why am I being so protective over this, right? When sharing it is proven to be helpful in all the ways, right? In all the ways. Why, Damon, do you ever had that struggle? Or if you didn't, like why do people feel that way?
I'm sure I did at some point. I don't think it was probably as dramatic as a lot of other people. I think it's just human nature, right? Where it's like, why would I give away my hard acquired knowledge and assets? So I don't think there's anything wrong with having that initial feeling. But when you sit back and like rationalize it and truly give it time to go, why does it matter? It doesn't freaking matter. Because like your example, either one of two types of things is going to happen with the type of lead that just takes your stuff and runs. You're either going to have a good outcome like you had, where they either become like an ambassador or a client, or let's say they didn't take that and run, but just the mentality of that type of client is the worst type of client. Like those are the type of clients that are going to get in your way. They're going to question every move you make. They're going to be the ones that want 24/7 availability. So it's almost like it's a good qualifying problem, because either they go, like I had one client that went and tried to do SEO on their own, or they were a client, but they were like on a budget end. Then they're super grandfathered. I don't negotiate rates. They are what they are. But these guys have been with us forever. And so they're like grandfathered in, and now we're like quadruple the rates over here doing all these other things, and they're like, we're content with, we understand we're getting what we pay for, and that's okay. And they were very much a blue collar industry, old school kind of traditional boots on the ground kind of sales, and they've gone through the process where they're like, I don't need the entirety of SEO. Then phase 2 was like, I'm going to try it on my own. And then phase 3 was like, damn, this is hard. And then phase 4 was like, my time is better spent somewhere else, hire Damon. So like, it's almost a good thing to have people have that hesitation because they're either going to realize the value of your time and your service and then be a better client, or if they don't, they're a crappy client that you don't want anyway.
So by the way, you what you just mentioned, it threw me back to a conversation that we had earlier on the process that we have. I mean, people can go out there and multiply their content no matter what. Like, there's tools that facilitate this process. That's totally fine. You know, if you guys want details on how we do it, absolutely, I'm happy to jump on a call. But
or join the workshop. Or
join the workshop
May 1st, because we're going to be opening the doors to behind the scenes.
Yeah, exactly. So,
hey, do you guys have a workshop coming up?
May 1st.
Great question.
Yeah,
indeed we
question.
do.
Yes, thank you, Damon. But here's the thing, right? Like the conversation was we've had comments, right? We've actually have also clients that did that, right? They're like, I can do this myself, right? And there's like, and then they either drop off because the consistency aspect is not there. The time is invested in different ways, and then they have a conversation. It's like, man, we gotta go back. So I remember we were shown an app that automates some of the process, right? Not the entire process, like the tip of the iceberg process, right? And and we're having a conversation right now. It's like, how else can we improve every single day? We're like, how can we improve our customer experience? How can we improve their journey? How can we improve same as the conversation that we have in the front end for the content? Same thing happens on the back end, right? And it's like #undispensable, right? And I came to the realization the other day when I was shown one of these things. We're like, they're your competition. I'm like, no, they're literally serving us, our clients, in a platter, in a silver platter, because these are people that are going there. Some of them might be successful at it, but they're going to find the pain that this is, or the time that this requires to do it well. And if that's the vehicle that they're choosing, right? Perfect. You know, we are coming in for the solution after that, right? So we're like, we're here to save you. Like, if you really, this is the thing that you need to be doing, 100%. We're here with a process that's going to speed up this process, you know, tenfold. So that was a pretty awesome realization internally that I did. I don't think I've shared it with you, FONZI.
You did.
I don't share everything with you, FONZI. Sorry.
You guys just bonded.
Yeah, we just bonded.
So good, yeah. But it came out of that, and you know, you that have years of experience on the SEO field, you know, you continue to see that trend, right, going up and down, and you're there to help and serve and provide amazing value and results, which is so important. Which, if FONZI doesn't have any other questions, I want to transition to the unique output that you have for your content, for your social. Not only the SEO side of things, because we've talked about for like 20 minutes almost before the show even started, on your unique take on publishing. And I want to pre-frame my next questions with, we often talk about creating your own consistency, your own cadence. Like, how do you actually feel comfortable publishing, right? For us, it's the show and then everything that comes after, right? That's how we've been able to craft our own thing. And we try to mimic other people for the last 4 or 5 years, right? Never ended up well. We were never able to hold consistency, nothing. And we really got a lot of traction as soon as we created our own framework, right? To do this. Yeah. You have your own. Can you walk us through your amazing framework?
So specific to social media and lead gen that way, right? So social media, it's exactly what you said. It's a cadence you got to figure out. You have to kind of do the dance and figure out what your dance is, and you have to suck. Like, there's no way around it. You have to get on and figure out what you want to post about, what you don't want to post about, and then start posting and not posting about those things. And then the problem that you're going to run into, though, is the gray area, where you're like, I want to post this thing because other people talk about it. That one guru does it. It sounds sexy. And then you post it and it just sounds so fake and you feel awkward. And then you like have to figure out what those boundaries are. And so I did the same thing. I mean, for as much as I like, social proof is going to outpace our referrals this year. And so in our 14 years, referrals have always been our biggest source of leads. And this year, it was probably about equal in 2020. 2021, it's way ahead of referrals already. And I'm only like 2 years into this. This is not something that I'm going to proclaim that I'm an expert at, but I found what works for me. And so the journey for me to get to this point was, it actually started unintentionally. It started because I was just burned out on social media. It wasn't all the drama, which I agree is there. It was just a lack of focus. I just felt like I wasn't really investing my time productively. And so I got to a point where I just shut down my Facebook. And we all know that when you delete it, it doesn't really delete. So I went the next level, and bless my wife, because I told her, I said, I'm just going to delete everything. And so I had her log in, and she manually unfriended every single friend I had, manually deleted every post I made, manually deleted every comment on other people's posts that I had made. And it took her 3 weeks. And that was when I wasn't even like hyperactive. I was just, you know, probably like a casual user. I couldn't imagine if she was to do it now, it'd take her a lifetime. But she went through and just wiped everything out. And so there I sat with a blank Facebook, and then I hit delete. And so I let it sit there for probably 2 months. And the only other platform that I kind of used was LinkedIn, but not even really, I wouldn't even say I really did. Like, I had a profile, was gathering dust on it. I had maybe like 5 posts in 10 years. I don't even know. And I just kind of that one wasn't active. So I just let it sit there. I didn't delete that one. It just kind of sat there. So then what happened over 6-8 weeks or so is I started to think, well, why can't I do social media my way? Why can't I figure out what my way is? Why can't I post about the things that I like, which are A, I like to help new entrepreneurs. B, obviously I like to talk about SEO. And C, I like to talk about my appreciation for my wife and my kids. But here's the balance that I had to figure out. The dance that I say you got to do is, how do I blend business, so I have a purpose on social media, with personal, because of my interest in showing my affection for my wife and kids. And not only balance that, and so what I mean by balance is, how do I keep my audience's interest? But then also, how do I balance it from my perspective? Because as much as I'm a public figure and I want to talk about my wife and kids, I'm hyper private about my family life. So like, as you listen to this and you go look up any of my posts, you'll see I consistently talk about my wife and kids. But what you won't see is their faces. You won't see me mention their names. And so I don't publish any identifiable information. But then the next layer to that dance I had to figure out is, how do I do that and protect that while sharing my love for them without being fake? I can't go, hey son, turn around so I can get a picture of the back of your head so it's unidentifiable. So what I had to figure out was, what are the real pictures I can share that really show the moment without the fakeness? So like, a good example is, you know, last winter, I took my kids sledding, and I wanted to talk about, you know, the fun time we had, because we took the neighbor kids and they all had fun. And so I went through so I didn't stage a photo. I just went back and looked at what photos I had so I could share the moment. And then I found a real photo, but it was of me getting a picture with the kids in the background running to the hill. And so they're running away. So that's a real picture, but then it's also it shares what I want to share, but it protects the privacy that I want to protect. So I had to figure out what that dance was. And it took me probably 3 months of screwing up, of posting something that didn't resonate, or posting something and then I felt uncomfortable and I deleted it. And there's no way to expedite that process, because nobody knows what the right answers of content is but you. So you have to trip over yourself to figure out those answers. But where it really started to click was at about those 3 months is when I started to get leads, people private messaging me and saying, hey, I really resonated with that story. And they connect with you on the private stuff, but they hit you up because they know your area of expertise, because you talk about what you do and work too. But it's the personal things that make them connect with you. And so then I started getting leads. And then by the 6-month mark, I had, I don't know, a couple tens of thousands of dollars in deals. And then where I stopped quantifying it was at about the 9-month mark. At about 9 months into this, so 3 months of screwing up and then 6 months of polishing it up, I had 150 grand in extra contracts, not counting what we were already doing, not counting other sources of leads or referrals, just from social media posts, an extra 150 grand. And so at that point I said, okay, this is clearly worth spending my time. It's personally rewarding because I can share my stories. I can resonate with people. I can engage with other people in the way that I want to engage, but it's supporting the growth of the business as well in a way that I like to do, because I don't like the sales process. Almost all of us hate the sales process. Our customers hate the sales process. And so now what happens is people will often connect with me. Obviously, go where your audience is. So I'm not on TikTok. So for me, it's mostly LinkedIn and Facebook. But what's interesting is people will connect with me on LinkedIn for my expertise, and then follow me over to Facebook and get hooked because of the personal stories. And like I said, I don't post about landing pages. I don't send them to funnels or opt-ins. They'll private message me and they'll say, look, I already know what you do. What's next? Like, where's the go button? And so it eliminates the sales process, breaks down the sales walls. They already know what you do. It's not an awkward conversation because they've subconsciously established a relationship with you. And now they're a better client too, because they're not going to ask you 5,000 questions that get nowhere for either of you, but are just kind of the common sales qualification process that everybody does just to do. So
yeah,
I'm going to take a nap. That was a lot.
Wow.
That was a masterclass, man. I love it.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, the name of the show is Content is Profit. And then this part is like in the banner image of the show, but I don't think nobody reads that, is the pursuit of the frictionless sale. And what you explain right now is that frictionless sale. You're creating so much trust with people, and at the same time you're having fun. Like, there's barely any friction from either side, right? Like, you're now found the process that you enjoy, a voice that you know is true to yourself. I mean, we were talking about how freaking awesome your banner picture on Facebook is, right? The marketing influencer is like, for those listening right now, go and follow Damon on Facebook. The links are going to be at the bottom of the show right now. But I'm going to try to illustrate it, right? It's just like a white background with a Lamborghini. I say Lamborghini all the time.
Just say Lambo.
A cartoon Lamborghini.
Yeah, a cartoon Lambo. Yeah, an illustration cartoon Lambo. And then just your head kind of like popping out of the window. And at
Oversized head.
Oversized head. There we go. And then at the bottom is like, it says marketing influencer, but it's written like if it was written in Microsoft Paint by a 5-year-old, pretty much.
And the E and the R at the end of influencer, I ran out of space, so I had to curve it up along the side of the.
Oh, it's amazing, and I love it.
That's a good other addition to what we were just talking about. But you talk about how do you figure out what your cadence is, and for me, like, I have to figure out another balance. I have to figure out is, I do big business. I have a big team. We work with big companies. So how do I communicate that I am an expert in what I do, but also not be that barfy guru that's only posting pictures of them at the beach, that's only posting pictures of them in next to real Lamborghinis, who knows whose Lamborghini they are. And so for me, it's like fun to poke at those things because we all know that the majority of that is fake. Like, how many times did that guy take that picture? Is that really his car? Like, where did he rent that unicorn from? And so for me, it's like fun I enjoy poking fun at that because it resonates, because the type of people that I do business with don't want that crap. Like, they know the fakeness, not all of it, but they know when that's fake. Yeah. And so to some people, they, on one end of the spectrum, they might go, Damon's not an expert because he's being a goofball. But to my audience, they're saying Damon is an expert because he's past that phase of faking it. Yes. And now he's having fun with it and calling it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Dude, I love this because if you go to, for example, I feel like I post less personal pictures in there in my Instagram than my brother do. And it's because I don't like let me pose for a picture, right? And like, take that picture of me looking into the sunset, and then I'll post that with like an awesome caption. Like,
who takes these pictures?
Yeah, exactly. Like, and don't get me wrong, like, I did photography for a while, and I love taking good quality pictures, but I hate the photo shoots. I hated like telling people like, oh yeah, look over here, look over there. Like, I didn't enjoy that. I enjoyed the candid pictures. Like, let me go to an event and take a picture of a kid that's actually having fun in there, right? Or the mom and the dad with the kid that, they're grabbing an ice cream and they're all having fun, but they don't know I'm taking the picture. Sounds kind of creepy right now, but I promise they pay me at the event for this stuff, right? So like those are the type of stuff, and I'm like, I wish I had that stuff for myself, like candid pictures. not like fake, portrayed in there, but I don't have anybody that takes pictures of me. So now I'm like, you know what? I like your take on it. And I told you before we started the show, I'm like, I might respectfully steal your idea. And, that is like one of the biggest forms of compliments, right? When people steal your ideas. And I'm like, dude, I might just take a bunch of pictures, oversize my head, and just like start putting them everywhere.
Well, that's what we got to tell the audience is what the idea is that you're taking. So what we were talking about before we jumped on is I told my team, so I like taking, I have, like I said, with my kids, obviously we all have photos in our phone, but sometimes like with the fake Lamborghini picture, I do enough of those because that's kind of my shtick at this point. Is to go find like a fake influencer picture, or it doesn't even have to be an influencer picture. It can just be like something random, like I'll put my face on a duck for some reason. And so what I told my team is like, here, I sent them like 20 or 30 pictures of me, and I said, crop out my head in all these different poses and save just the head in a transparent ping file. So I literally have a Dropbox folder of just my face in 20 or 30 different poses. And so with the Lamborghini picture, I can whatever the topic is that I'm talking about, I can have a great picture to support it in 20 seconds. 10 seconds to go find it on a stock free site, and then 10 seconds to drop in the cropped head that's already ready for me to go, and then just layer it together, and I'm done.
Dude, absolutely. It's amazing. I think it's a genius framework, honestly.
I love what you said, and this might have flown under the radar for many people. Is Damon is an expert because he's past that, because right now, like past the whole flashy whatever thing, right? Like, and we, when we changed perspective on our show, right, because everybody was like, you should do this and you should do that, and then you should post this way and it should look this other. We're like, to the hell with all that. We're just going to do the show the way that we want to do it, right? To the point that we do everything live. And, if we screw up, we screw up. The other day, we had an interview with this incredible entrepreneur from England, and we completely forgot to record the video and the audio intro. And her reaction was like the best reaction ever that we've ever gotten. And she's like, oh my God. And that was not there. So we had to go and be like, hey, by the way, guys, like this is exactly what happened, right? And
we just recorded an extra intro at the end. Like, hey, we messed up, so you won't see the intro.
And that authenticity, I think it obviously resonates. And, I think that has been the theme of today's conversation. It's like, how do you get there, right? Like, and have enough confidence of what the value is that you provide. And it goes back to our journey. Right now, we're having a conversation yesterday with the team, and they're changing some of the stuff that's coming out, right? And they're like, we're always like, what propose ideas? Like, what do you guys want to put out there, right? And they're giving us this stuff, and we're like, absolutely, let's do it. But it's phase 2. It's like, how can we now continue to do that? And we've been talking about starting a Twitch channel, which is totally unrelated to the business content.
Damon, we're gonna need you in that one. That one is just for fun.
Yeah,
it's the idea. It's a show.
I've never done Twitch. Let's do it.
Hey, it's a show called Commenting Comments.
Commenting Comments.
Because the gold in the content, it's always in the comments, man. Like, if you scroll down and you start reading the stuff, you're gonna crack up, right? So that's the show. Literally, we're just gonna go in social media, certain channels, and just start reading comments from some posts.
I like that.
Hey,
there we go.
Right,
we got our first guest.
Approved.
Yes.
Look. I got the Damon beard stamp.
Yes. Approved. Following. All right, awesome. Proof of concept done. And we want to encourage everybody that's like listening right now. Go test things out. I mean, this is the thing. Like, you don't have to fit in a mold. There's processes to everything right now, and this is what we've talked about a lot. It's like, what is your framework? There's different pieces that then you can align there, right? Like, I'm sure there's a creative process for you on the caption writing, right? Or maybe you dominate it so much that you sit down and you do it, right? But that has to start somewhere. And with the times, the 9 months that you were improving on that, it became a habit, right? And for us now, the show is a habit, right? The way that we produce the show is a habit, and the processes are there for the team to take over, right? So what are those things, as like, if you're listening right now, look back at the things that you produce and the things that you put out there, and are you being consistent? Yeah. Are you being comfortable with what you're saying? Like, all these elements play a part.
I'm gonna, sorry, before interrupting you here. Interrupting you.
Before interrupting?
No, unapologetically interrupting my brother.
100%.
Talking about those frameworks that my brother is talking about, and going off of the framework with the big heads, right, which is absolutely amazing and genius. we did a bunch of like backgrounds for the Content is Profit, like the one that you're seeing right now in the live. And we have kind of like elements, little PNG elements that we kind of like follow, subscribe, crazy. Or we go live on these days, a bunch of all those stuff. And we have them as PNG. So one of my things is sometimes I have these epiphanies, right? Like, for example, being consistent is the ultimate advantage, right? And I'll go and I'll tweet it. I'll go on Twitter, I'll tweet it, and then I take a screenshot. And guess what? Now I have all the elements to create a BIZBROS branded post for my tweet, right? And I literally, my framework is I go in my Instagram stories and I put it on Instagram story right there. And then I post it in my story, I save it, and then I can also put it as a post. And it takes me like 5-10 minutes. It's super quick, right?
Yeah, you just create. It's the same business concept that you always hear about, where it's standard operating procedures. You know, what are your processes? And that applies to everything in life. You know, it's whether you're doing SEO, whether you're doing content production, podcast, not repurposing because we're canceling that word. Like whatever it is that you're doing, it is totally just about consistency. It's not so obviously you got to have some skill set, but the skill set gets earned through consistency. So you don't have to be amazing. Before we hit record, I told you like. I just been sucking at my workout routine lately because I can't get onto something that's consistent because between balancing like, you know, family time and time with my wife, my kids, and then work hours and all that. So for me, I'm like, okay, well, I got to find something consistent because that's where the magic happens. So now there's like a bird refuge that's a mile away. So every morning when my wife runs the kids to the school, I got like 20 minutes to go hit that bird refuge and get back. And so that's what I've been doing like the last week. And so I just figured out, it may not be the sexiest thing that you want to do, but it's what is going to work best for me in my circumstance.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love it. I mean, this episode is, and the gold is about to come too, because we're wrapping the show with the SEO goldness.
This is full of golden boulders.
Golden boulders. Yes. Oh man. Yeah. I can't wait.
Hey, let me add one more thing though before we switch off the social thing. You know, when we joke about the Lamborghinis and all the fancy pictures, I'm not discrediting the effectiveness of those getting likes and engagement, but here's what you have to realize is I don't care if that gets more likes because it's not the right people. Like, do you just want the vanity metrics to say I got 100 likes, or do you want 10 likes and 2 of those people become your customer?
Absolutely.
And then the other thing is when I look at kind of along the same lines where you got to figure out what your dance is, the more I see like a bandwagon following to, you need to do SEO this way, you need to do social media this way, you need to do whatever this way, the more my gut tells me that a different direction is probably the right path. And so don't get caught up in the trends, because I'm not saying they're not effective. I'm just saying they're probably not sustainable. And so you got to figure out what is sustainable for you.
Yeah, you hit it. You hit it right on point. We had a conversation.
Do you actually hear that, Damon? Do you actually hear that there?
The crowd is going crazy.
It's going wild.
Yes. They brought the horns and everything. Man, yeah. I mean, we had a conversation last week.
Grab my cowbell.
The cowbell. Yes. If you're wondering about the cowbell, go listen to the first episode with Damon that is mentioned.
Was that episode 60? Or 40 something. It was 47.
July last year.
Just go to July last year.
Crazy. Time flies. Just go to July. Time travel.
Yeah.
You hit it, man. You hit it right on point. We had a conversation last week with Andrea Sullivan, who's the CMO of Viner Media, right? Nobody knows that company. So, and Gary V.
I love you, Andrew.
Gary, yeah, exactly.
I think people got the joke.
I know. Damn, Fonzie, did you get it? Did you get it?
Keep going with your point. Wow.
And we were asking her about because obviously they're fans of high volume. I consider we do higher volume than most people out there with the amount of content that we put out. And we asked her like, why that? And she's like, we're constantly testing. We're constantly putting ourselves out there, and every company that we help is we grab this information and it's like, how can they adapt it to their market, to the thing, to how they can execute? And it's exactly what you were saying, right? So it just validates that, and more people need to listen to this. More people need to know this, because they're blinded by
By the lights?
By the Lambos. Blinded by the Lambo. Okay.
That's good. That's going to be the new...
Don't be blinded by the Lambo, guys.
Don't be blinded by the Lambos.
Oh, so good.
Yeah. It's funny, though, because...
Hashtag blinded by the Lambo.
We actually got, like... The portal that opened the door to the entrepreneurship world for us was Ty Lopez in his garage showing his Lamborghinis, right?
Here in my garage.
Yeah, here in my garage and stuff like that. And we're like, oh, what? We don't have the money, but let's invest in this.
I did one of my big head photoshops in his garage just last week.
Really?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Oh,
Dude, that is so cool.
So good, so good.
It might even be in the comments of my yellow Lamborghini cover photo.
Oh, I'm gonna look it up.
Yes, we're gonna leave all these links, guys, for you. Go check him out. Go check out this incredible social proof, incredible post. I mean, it's so fun, Just explore it, and then homework. How can you apply it? How can you do it consistently?
Yeah.
I think that's great. All right, closing out the episode with SEO goldness.
That's right.
And I know that we could potentially do like another whole episode of this, but it's like, what is the cliff notes, right? Like, how can people scale their podcast or their platform, right, through SEO? What are some things that they can start looking at? Obviously, they should go and have a conversation with you and your team. But what are some things that they can start looking at today?
So if you want to tackle, whether you want to tackle it on your own or not, like where you want to start is with your website structure, like the technical stuff. And I know earlier I said you don't have to get super technical, but this part isn't time consuming. Here's why you start with the technical stuff. So if you understand the scope of SEO, there's 100 things that go into it. But all of those things primarily fall into two categories. So one category is what you do on your website, and the other category is what you do externally to your website. And then in between there is content, because you can have content on your website and then externally to your website. Now, the reason why you start with a structure is because most of your gains are going to come from the content and external credibility, but those are only going to be effective as the foundation of your website is solid, that is bouncing off of it. So you can do all this great content, you can get all this external credibility, but if it's going to a crappy website that loads slow and isn't mobile friendly, you're not going to get very far. So where I recommend people start is just by making sure their website loads quickly. There's 2 free tools that you can use. One is called GT Metrics. It's just the letters GT and then metrix.com. And then there's another one called Google Lightspeed, PageSpeed. It's a Lighthouse, something. They change the name all the time.
We can Google it up.
Google Speed Checker. Just do that. Google Page Speed Checker. There you go. Anyways, so you want to make sure, ideally, your website, the average is probably 4 to 6 seconds. So if you can get 3 seconds or less, that's going to put you ahead of most of your competition. And the nice thing, even though that's a little bit technical, once it's done, it's done. Like, you don't have to always go fix your website. Like, unless you go in and tinker with it and break something, just get that done and over with. Then after that, focus on your content. Now, what Fonzie said is, map out your strategy. I'm a huge proponent of basically an assembly line, right? And so the way that my team does it for clients, which most of you can apply to your website as well, is we front load the efforts in strategizing what the content play is going to be. So where that starts is, what words can we make money with? And so it's the same thing with social media. You don't want all the likes in the world. You want the right likes. Mm-hmm. And so it's the same thing with, what are you targeting on SEO? You don't want the word that has the biggest search volume. You want the word that has the best buyer intent. And so I would way rather have a word that maybe only gets 1,000 searches a month, but it's going to bring me 100 customers, than a word that gets 1 million searches a month and is just too broad and doesn't imply buyer intent, and I get no customers off it, just for the bragging rights to say I get 1 million searches. Yeah. So you got to figure out where you can make your money. Now, once you identify those keywords that you're going to target, you can monetize, then you use that towards the foundation of your content strategy, because then you go, okay, I need to write content that can very specifically support those targets, because those are the targets that are going to make me money. Now, after you understand that process, then you want to go back to tapping into the buyer intent. And so did I share the fun story about Karl Malone last time?
I don't think so.
No.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a fun story. When we were working with the Utah Jazz, they have a retail division called the Team Store. And the goal was to sell more jerseys and merchandise and hats. And so what they said is, okay, we want to sell them we want to focus on very specific players. Newer star players like Donovan Mitchell, and then legacy players like Karl Malone. And so the reason why I bring this up is to to reinforce tapping into the buyer intent. And so anybody else that's doing SEO on Karl Malone merchandise is going to do the same crap. It's going to be, what teams did he play for? What was his high scores? What were his records? What college did he go to? How many years did he play for? Like all those statistical things. Now, the problem with that is you're going to be fighting against all the other websites that are doing that, and it's not unique.
Yeah.
And so when you tap into the buyer intent, I'll give you another free tool that you can use. There's a website called answerthepublic.com. Mm-hmm. So through tools like Answer the Public, the data in those websites are, you type in a keyword, so in this case, Karl Malone, and it's going to tell you what your audience is already searching. So you don't have to guess. And then you can filter through those results and look for the unique opportunities. And so the Karl Malone example was, we started to see enough questions showing up about how did Karl Malone die? But Karl Malone's not dead. And so here's your opportunity, because nobody else is writing about that because he's not dead. You, your customer, or in my case, us, our clients would have never thought of that topic. But through the data, it's telling us that that's what the market wants. And so from there, it might be the wrong question, but you can come up with the right answer. So in that case, you go, here's the top 10 myths of how Karl Malone died. So you address the question. You're probably the only person to talk about it because he's not dead. You tap into the buyer intent and you serve the market what it already wants instead of you guessing. So then they come in, it's got good buyer intent because it's a Karl Malone fan. You're selling Karl Malone merchandise. You address the question. By the way, here's his jersey. So you've got to focus on what the audience and the market wants, not what you're going to shove down and, try and guess at. Don't take the shotgun approach. So the long story short is, focus on the strategy first. Front load your efforts. Align everything so you're heading down the right path ahead of time, because otherwise you're going to be months down the road writing all this content that serves no purpose. And then if you decide to pivot, you're starting from scratch. Like, you can't really repurpose you can't really adjust the purpose of that historical content.
Cancel repurpose.
Entirely new content.
Yeah. Dude, I love it. I love that focus. I'm sorry for interrupting you. That so abruptly.
The end.
But yeah, I love that concept of buyer intent, because I feel personally, I had that thought of, you want to go for the most searches, what has the biggest search volume, but that might not be the thing that is going to get you, right, the most buyers. And it's probably the most search volume is probably going to be the most competitive as well. Probably most people operate under that thought process of, if more people are searching for this, there's probably more buyers here.
Yeah, I mean, I can give you a real quick specific example to that. We have a client who's been with us. They were actually client number one. They've been with us for 14 years, and they are a contract manufacturing company. So they work on assembling like circuit board based products and electronics. And so before we came in, they wanted to put a heavy influence on targeting the word circuit boards. Sound data, they were spending 80% of their budget on targeting circuit boards, and it brought 0 sales because they don't sell circuit boards. They sell the assembly of the final product. So the circuit boards come into them already made, and then they put them into a greater good, like a TV, some sort of electronic device. So that's a good example of their gut told them circuit boards because that's where all the market was. That's where all the search volume was. But it's not their search volume. It's not their customers. So we were able to cut the budget substantially and increase their sales by just focusing on where the right buyer intent was.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that. Whenever we put our website together, Damon, and we're ready to move on, with like hardcore SEO, we're going to be there. We're going to be there.
We already talked about step one.
Yeah. Well, we need the website,
It has to happen. Guys, this was so good. Damon, I appreciate you, man.
Hashtag juicy today.
Hashtag juicy for sure. A new hashtag was born, guys. Hashtag blinded by the Lambo.
Blinded by the Lambo.
A new hashtag was born today. Damon, look at you, man. Congrats.
And cancel repurposing.
And
cancel repurposing. That's right. Yes, absolutely.
New swag coming up to contentswag.com. I'm kidding.
Content swag.
Do you really have that?
I'm about to go buy it. Yeah, for this is the
You better before this goes live.
This is the contents for all creator guys, all the creators. Here it is.
I'm looking it up right now. Content domains.
Yes, while Fonzie looks content domains. While Fonzie looks for contentswag.com. Damon, I just want to say thank you, man. Any last thoughts that you want to share with the audience? It has been an absolute pleasure, this conversation, man.
Yeah, I heard you have a workshop coming up. Tell me about that.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you for asking.
So if you are in that phase of transitioning to being a creator, into a strategic creator, and you actually want to turn your content into profit, we talk about the principles that move and find your intent buyer and all these principles that we talked about today. The workshop is on May 1st. You can send us a DM with the word workshop and we'll get you guys in. So thank you, Damon, for that incredible plug.
Yeah, it's for those people that are stuck in the Yes, and go buy the book. Exactly. Go buy a rank.
Yes, absolutely.
Go hit freeSEObook.com. There's a free PDF download. Nothing on the thank you page other than an invite to a Facebook group. There's no upsell. There's nothing.
Awesome. You guys definitely recommend getting that and the audiobook because remember, we talked about bigger retention when you're reading and listening. so go get both.
Get both. The link is going to be right below.
I can't read physical books. I got to do audio.
Really? I'm the total opposite. I need to do physical. Like when I'm listening to stuff. When I'm listening to stuff, like I listen to a sentence that I'm like, oh yeah, that was good. And then my mind immediately just goes into another world. And then I come back and I'm like, wait, did I just miss 3 chapters of this book?
What was that chapter?
Yeah, I was like, oh man, I need to go back all the way.
Pretty much.
So that's why I like writing. Guys, I have some bad news. Contentswag.com is taken.
Profitswag.com?
And the website is not even being used. It says site not found.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
You need a sad audio clip.
A sad audio clip.
Yeah, like, oh.
Yeah. Oh, true.
You got the applause. Now you need a sad one.
We're just too happy all the time. So this is the first time we were so disappointed live.
I know. This is a big disappointment. But, Damon, before we log out, I know you said go to freeseobook.com so they can go get their Outrank book, of course, and also join the Facebook group. But what else? How can they, see more of this incredible marketing strategy in social media that you have? Where can they connect with you?
I'm most active on LinkedIn and Facebook. Just search the name Damon Burton.
Awesome. Guys, I totally encourage you to go and connect with him. He is absolutely amazing. He's a lot of fun. It's very entertaining to read and see his comments and the answers that he, that he gives to people. So go check him out, go connect with him, and go ask him any SEO related questions you may have.
Absolutely. Guys, with that said,
thanks, guys.
Thank you so much for tuning into the Contents Profit Podcast. Go ahead and follow the show in your favorite platform and on social media at BIZBROS.
That is right. And if you find today's episode impactful and it's helping you move one step closer to your goal, please don't forget to share it and leave a 5-star review. Thank you.
Bye, guys.